What's up, guys? Kamikaze Fox here, coming to you live from round 3 of the SRL F1 2018 Championship. Round 3 live at Sochi this weekend, making up for last week when we weren't able to be here. So round 3 had an exciting couple of opening rounds so far this year. We're waiting for a couple of drivers to still join. We'll take a look at the driving list here. The Just Games is going to be Funes van Houten in the Petronas Mercedes, followed by Sandro Dulius. Joey FY is Jur Marusic, and he's already chimed in on the live chat, as has the SRL League. And Banana Trolls, which is Sam Elvin. Billy 1704 is Vasilios Belasiotis. Then Mr. Arc 15 is the Ivan Brito. Gamer Freak is Rennie van der Stapp. Colin Higgins in the Toro Rosso, followed by Lewis Marshall. Ethan Croft making an appearance, finally. Jan Holm in the Sauber, the Widowmaker. Jorge Correa is in the other Mercedes. Dion Stalls in the other Scuderia Ferrari. Nick Van Gelder in the Red Bull Racing, followed by Francis McGinn in the Force India. Jesper Lampinen in the Williams. Banana Trolls is Sam Van Elven. Fake Orpheus is, I believe it's Irfan Daniel is how you say it. And you've got SRL Sam, that's Sam Brandt. Cameron Weston Edwards in the Sauber. And, of course, I am Kamikaze Fox as we get ready to go live here for round 3. We're going to do 18-minute qualifying session. And very exciting 2 opening rounds. With a lot of mixtures of weather and lap cars and safety cars and things like that. It's hard to believe it's only round 3. We started the season back in Germany with a very wet race. The qualifying was dry, but the race itself was very wet. There was chaos at the start. We had our first safety car back in Germany in round 1. Vasilios Belastiostis managed to win that round in a very dominating fashion. There was a little bit of controversy between Vasilios and Cameron Weston Edwards during the opening laps, but he managed to take the win. Lewis Marshall finished second, and Nick Van Gelder finished third. That was the opening round back in Germany. Then in Austria, again, had another very exciting round. Francis McGinn picked up his first pole of the year. Lewis Marshall managed to take the win, though. Van Gelder finished on the podium again. He finished second, and then Jesper Lampinen picked up his first podium of the year back at round 2. So far, been a good mixture of poles, wins. Has also had some misfortunes, unfortunately. Ivan Brito, Sam Brandt, Louis Quinlan, and Cameron Weston Edwards all had DNFs in the opening round, and in very unlike Cameron Weston Edwards fashion, he picked up a second straight DNF round 2 at Austria, where he lost control at the last corner and was sideswiped by Sam Brandt. So Brandt and Edwards, neither one have yet to finish a race so far this year. Unfortunately for him, your points leader after the first round was Vasilios, but he had a DNF last race. That put Lewis Marshall ahead of everybody. And unfortunately, Louis Quinlan last round had picked up his second straight DNF. Now, Louis Quinlan's an interesting story. He races in the IRL and the SRL, both leagues that I commentate for, and he has done a total of 5 races so far this year between both leagues and has only managed to finish 1. He came out last week during a discussion, said that he would be forfeiting for the time being. He's not going to be racing for the next few weeks due to a broken controller. His plans is to get a new wheel at Christmas time, and that will put him, Christmas is on the 25th. His next race would be an IRL race on December 30th, so he's got 5 days to get the wheel hooked up and get used to it, and then he'll be back to racing. So he's going to miss the next couple rounds for both leagues, due to a very, very, very poor start so far this year. So we've got some cars out on track. This is Francis McGinn in the Sahara Force India. McGinn picked up his first pole last time out, but unfortunately The race didn't go his way. He managed to finish 5th last round in Austria, and he wasn't around for the first round in Germany, so he's a little bit way down in the points. He's a very fast driver. During preseason testing, a lot of guys look to him to be as one of the drivers to beat, but so far Lewis Marshall has been the one taking it to the house with a 2nd place finish in Germany and then winning in Austria, so we'll see if he can continue his tear here in SRL. And while there are many SRL leagues, there is only one Sandro Racing League. And that is what you are watching today. So round 3, Sochi. A love-hate relationship with this track. You either love it or you hate it, or you just love to hate it because it's that bad. Sochi, not particularly one of my favorite tracks, and it's to me, it's the Formula One equivalent to NASCAR's cookie cutter tracks. A lot of long straights, a lot of hard angle turns, no elevation. Seems to be the norm for modern day Formula One tracks. If you've seen one, you've seen them all, it seems like. And we're watching Francis McGinn on his opening hot lap. Coming through sector 2. This is down the long straightaway that's got this hard curve at the end. Braking zone, hard right turn. Oh, and he gets a little loose, it looked like, as we jump on board with him looking through the halo. It looks like he is on the hyper softs. Ooh, look at that. Runs a little wide there. Real easy to run 4 off in this track. But he does set the time at a 1:36.38. Ivan Brito, second guy to set a time at a 1:32.042. So 1:30 is a really good time. Sandro Dulius had run a 1:30.5 practice earlier this week, which was a really good time for him. I believe the record is somewhere in the 1:28, so 1:28.9, 1:28.7. And rumor has it, and I didn't confirm this, but rumor has it that Matthew Alder actually holds the world record right now at this track. Sandro Dulius jumps to 1:31.175, his second quickest. So try to pick up some of these other guys. This is Dion Stahl. This is Sandro Dulius' teammate. We've got some guys setting times. Got a lot of guys in the 1:32s. Ivan Brito, Rene Vanderstappen, Cameron Weston-Edwards, Guillermo Rustic, all in the 1:32s. Jan Holm so far 1:34.4. It's all he could muster. 7th quickest, but 2 seconds off the pace of everybody else. Irfan Daniel was 1:36. Jorge Correa is 1:33. Ooh. Got the left side of the car very close to the wall. Trying to keep the power down. Oh, and the back end just steps out a little bit. And it looks like he's going to dump off into the pit. So no time for Dion Stahl. We'll pick up Jesper Lempinen. Jesper has not started his hot lap quite yet. He'll be coming around to do it this time around. Looks like Colin Higgins is finally out on his hot lap. Jesper had a pole last year at Monza. And we've got International Racing League chiming in on the live chat on YouTube, rooting for Cameron Weston-Edwards, and as Cameron likes to say, they're on-track rivals, but off-track friends. We did do an IRL versus SRL last year, which was quite chaotic and ended in controversy. There's rumors that they'll be doing that again this year, try and solidify who is the better league. We continue to watch Jesper Lempinen, and I'm biased in that situation. I commentate for both leagues. There's a lot of good drivers in both leagues, And I can say the quality of racing in both of those leagues this year has been unparalleled with anything you're going to catch live. Unfortunately, Formula One, there's always the big three, but it seems like an IRL and SRL, it's really a crapshoot as to who could finish where. And the racing has just been unmatched with anything that I've seen in a long time. So both of these leagues are off to a very good start. It's good to see IRL checking out the live stream for SRL. Jesper coming around. Looks like he's going to be coming down the last corner here. See if he can set a time. 1:38.59, second fastest. That's a great time by Jesper Lempinen. We're going to pick up Lewis Marshall, who's on his out lap. Again, Marshall is your points leader currently. He finished second back in Germany and won the last round back in Austria. And he's actually in the IRL, he's actually in the top 3 in points over there. Runs a little wide coming out of there. That's to end his out lap. He's going to start a hot lap. And Colin Higgins has retired from the session. He was complaining of internet issues before we had gone live, so possibly an internet connection issue with him. Yet to set a time. If he can get back in time, he might be able to rejoin the session and set a time. 9 minutes left to play in what started as an 18-minute time qualifying session. If he can't make qualifying, hopefully he can make the race, even if he's going to start at the back of the field. Continue to watch Lewis Marshall's car slides around a little bit coming out of some of these corners. Haas F1, the U.S. team, powered by Ferrari. DRS slot open through what is it is the back straightaway, but there's nothing straight about it. See a curve to the right, hard curve to the left, and then a right into the braking zone. I've noticed on those onboard shots through that corner section, I saw that Francis McGinn and now Lewis Marshall were both taking that corner in 3rd gear, while Dion Stahl took the turn in 2nd gear. And look at this, Lewis Marshall to the top of the charts, 1:36.08, literally 0.03 of a second quicker than Francis McGinn. And we've got 4 cars in the 130s now. You've got Lewis Marshall, Francis McGinn, Jesper Lempinen, and Nick Van Gelder all cracking the 130 barrier. And look at this, Francis McGinn comes right back, 1:30.131, half a second quicker than Lewis Marshall. So Francis is not going down without a fight. Meanwhile, Dion Stahl has managed to set a time of 1:31.0, so he's almost cracked the 130 barrier. He's 5th quickest. So far, out-qualifying his teammate again, Sandro Dulius. Rene van der Stappen has just worked his way into 7th. And Vasilios, who won the wet race back in Germany, is so far only 8th quickest. Ivan Brito in the pits trying to make some adjustments. He's almost cracked that 131 barrier, as is Cameron Weston Edwards. They're both 9th and 10th right now. It looks like Edwards is coming out now. He's got one of the Williams in front of him. I don't believe that's Francis McGinn. I believe that's the other Williams. Vasilios? No. Actually, I guess that was Francis McGinn coming out of the pits. Because here's the other Williams, Ivan Brito, leaving now. You see Francis putting some heat into the tires. Edwards is going to go around him on this out lap. So we're going to watch Edwards. Edwards is off to a dismal start. 2 DNFs to kick off this year. Some bad luck. He was taken out in the first race by Vasilios. It was a little bit controversial. And then last round, he made a very rare mistake. Again, losing it in the last corner at Austria, and then got sideswiped as he was sitting in the middle of the racing line by Sam Brandt. Ended both of their races. Not sure what strategy Cameron's trying to play here. He was in front of the Williams. Now he's behind the Williams. I don't know if he wants to try and catch a little bit of a toe off of the car. He's way off the pace now. Giving himself some running room. Oh, look at him slide that car. Now that's one of the Renaults behind him. That would be Rene van der Stapp that's behind him. So here goes Cameron Weston Edwards to start his hot lap. Fastest time for him so far, 1:32, 1:73, 10th quickest. Such a hard corner to try and get right. It's easy to cut it too short, and it's easy to go wide on the way out. Oh, and he's gone very wide there. That's probably going to invalidate his time. And he is cutting all kinds of corners. So this lap is invalidated. We'll stick with him one more go around to see if he can set a time. It looks like he might have brushed the wall there. So last set of corners here. And nope, he's going to dive into the pits. Wasn't happy with the setup at all. So we'll pick up Sandro Dulius on his outlap. He's managed to go a tick quicker, broke the 1:31 barrier. He's now 5th quickest, ahead of his teammate Dion Stahl. Been a long time since we've seen Sandro atop the podium as far as a win or a pole. He did manage to get a few podiums last year and finish in the top 5 in points, but not used to what used to be a very dominating force in SRL. Has found it a little tougher, the competition a little tougher the past couple of years. See if he can improve on his time. I'm currently on his outlap around this very curvatured straightaway, as they call it. You can hear him slowing down, giving himself a little bit more running room to the traffic in front. 2:30 left to play, and I don't think some of these guys are done with trying to set the quickest time. And here we go, you see Sandro now getting ready to rev this one up, and here he goes, going to start a flying lap here. The caution in Sector 3, probably one of the cars just slowing down. So he makes this run down the front stretch. Sweeping right-hander that continues out on what is part of the front stretch. So both front stretch and back stretch in this track has still got a dog leg to it or a curve. See Sandro runs a little wide there, the left side's over the curve. It might invalidate the time, it might not. Owen Higgins has chimed in on the live chat to inform me that he actually did crash during qualifying, and that's why he was unable to set a time. Sandro looks like he's a little bit off the pace here. So we got a lot of guys on outlaps. And there's going to be just enough time for most of these guys to set one more flying lap. The Sauber there, that might be Cameron Weston Edwards. No, that was in fact Jan Holm. will pick up Sandro Dulius. One last go around to try and set a faster time. And he's off. Fifth quickest so far is a 1:39.58. He's 0.8 off of the pole spot. Ooh, the back end kicks out just a little bit there. Around the sweeping left-hander. Looks like Ethan Croft is retired from the session. Croft was 18th quickest at a 1:34.486. See some parts there laying on the side of the road there as we watch Sandro. He runs a little bit wide, almost dropped all four off. Lewis Marshall has called it a day at a 1:36.08, so his time is going to stand. We continue to watch Sandro. Looks like Nick Van Gelder is locked in at a 1:39.23. Dion Stahl's calling it a day. Renee Vanderstap's calling it a day. Foons Van Houten has come across the line with a 1:32.0 as we continue to watch Sandro Dulius. Ivan Brito, 1:32.042. So far, 10th quickest. Cameron Weston Edwards has now been dropped to 11th. Doesn't look like Sandro's going to be able to muster out very much more. 1:37.73. Third quickest. Nice job by Sandro. We'll pick up Jesper Lemponen. He comes across 1:38.39. Fourth quickest. Pick up Vasilios. He's going to come through the last corner here. 1:38.38, fourth quickest. He drops Jesper by a spot. So Francis McGinn picks up pole position. And that is his second pole in a row. So a nice last couple minutes there. A lot of flying laps at the end. So here's your starting lineup. That's Francis McGinn, followed by Lewis Marshall. Sandro Dulius manages to get third. Vasilios Belasiostis is fourth. Jesper Lemponen fifth. Nick Van Gelder sixth. Dion Stahl seventh. Cameron Weston Edwards does get up to eighth. Renee Vanderstap is ninth. Foons Van Houten is 10th. Ivan Brito 11th. Sam Brandt 12th. Sam Van Alven is 13th. Jo Marusic 14th. Jorge Correa is 15th. Jan Holm 16th. Efren Daniel 17th, Ethan Croft 18th, and then Colin Higgins had crashed out in qualifying. So we'll see if what he can do starting from the back. So Francis McGinn picks up his second pole in a row. As we continue to wait for this to load. Now, McGinn did get pole back in Austria last round. We did talk about that a little bit earlier. And only managed to finish fifth that race. And we are going to go for the formation lap. So again, Francis McGinn, pole winner, second one in a row, followed by Lewis Marshall. He's your championship points leader. He won at round 2, which was Austria, and managed to finish second at round 1. Sandro Dulius is going to be looking to try and capitalize on this third place finish. He has managed to finish 5th in the first round and 7th in the last round. Your round 1 winner, Vasilios Belasiostis. He won round 1 but had a DNF last race, followed by Jesper Lemponen. And unfortunately, Jesper, He did manage to finish third last round. He got picked up his first podium of the year. Nick Van Gelder has finished on the podium in both opening rounds. He had a third back in Germany, second place in Austria. Dion Stahl actually managing to have a pretty good season so far. He finished 7th in the first round, had a pretty good run last time, finished 4th. So that was a really good run for him. Cameron Weston Edwards, 2 DNFs in a row. He'll be looking to just finish in the points today. Rene van der Stapp, he's proven to be pretty quick. 4th back in round 1 and then a 6th. So been very consistent in the first couple rounds. Fons van Houten, 6th in the first round. But unfortunately, he only picked up 1 point last time out, finishing 10th. Ivan Burrito in the other Williams. Yeah, he finished 12th last round. And we have Sam Brandt in the other Haas. He's also got 2 DNFs in a row, very uncharacteristic of him. Sam Van Elven, a scrappy young fellow in the other Renault. He started 13th, I believe, last race. And before the race even started, he said, let's get some points. And he managed to fight his way into 9th and pick up a couple of championship points, so good for him. Joe Marusic will be looking to get a much better finish than he has previously. Jorge Correa in the other Mercedes. He'll be 15th. Jan Holm is 16th. Infant Daniel 17th. Ethan Croft and Colin Higgins starting in the back. Lights out. Always a little bit of a hiccup. And go. Time to run what you brung. Good start by the Williams. And that was Jesper Lempinen managed to get up into 3rd. And he's all over there. He's going to try to make a move. And that's one of the Force Indias there. Oh, and a little bit of touching. And Argy Bargy going through the 1-2 sector. See guys dropping through the ranks. Vasilios manages to climb his way into the second. Right now it's a Sahara Force India 1-2. He's got Lewis Marshall. Oh, and Jesper Lempinen right behind him. Sandro has dropped back into 5th. A lot of shuffling going on around in the back. As the cars come through this next set of corners here. Oh, and one of them's very wide. Ivan Brito way off. SRL Sam. That Sam Brandt was way off. And Brandt is way off course again. Looks like he's definitely got some wing damage. The right front end plates are completely gone. We'll have no downforce heading into some of these corners. So he's way off the pace. So we got Francis Pagano and Vasilios running 1-2. Followed by Jesper Lempinen and Lewis Marshall. And look at this. Cameron Weston Edwards has managed to work his way up to 6th. And he's making a move on Sandro for 5th. And he manages to get around Sandro. Now Sandro's coming under attack of Nick Van Gelder. So Sandro started 3rd, and he's lost 3 spots in the opening lap. Meanwhile, Francis McGinn has opened up the gap to his teammate by 1.5 seconds almost. And look at this, Francis McGinn's on the inside, going to try and take it. He bumps him, and around goes Vasilios. He manages to save it, but he's going to lose a ton of positions. Looks like that's Dion Stahl trying to go around the outside of Fons van Houten. Stahl's going to make the move on the inside. Van Houten's going to run wide. He's not going to give up the position very easily. Stahl's still got the more preferred line heading into the next corner. And he's going to push him wide. But here comes Sam Van Elven. And now it's a 3-way battle for what is going to be the 9th position. Oh, and a little bit of shoving there. So Stahl managed to get around Van Houten. Sam Elven trying to find a way around him. This is 8th, 9th, and 10th right here. Meanwhile, back towards the front, we've got a 3-way battle. What is ultimately going to be the 5th spot. Oh, look at this Van Gelder around the outside of Vasilios. Vasilios not giving up the position. Oh, and he goes wide again. Back end kicks loose. Gives Van Gelder the spot for 6th. Meanwhile, Sandro has worked his way back to 5th spot. So he's fallen back and starting to work his way back up. But you've got a cluster of cars here, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, all within a second and a half of each other. It looks like Vasilios is just lost another spot to Dion Stahl. Lock up there by Van Gelder. So Vasilios is struggling for rear grip on his car, it seems like. The back end is kicked out a couple of times now. He's going to try and dive to the inside. Look at this. Stahl making the outside line work to save the position. Oh, and the back end kicks out again. And now Jovan Marusic has retired. What has happened to him? We try to look back here. What is this? This is Ivan Brito, Dion Stahl, or Ivan Brito and Rene Vanderstappen. So Colin Higgins had gone off. I'm sorry, Jovan Marusic has gone off, and he is done for the day. Going to pick up Mick Van Gelder. As he was working to try and get around Sandro Dulius for the 5th spot. Here goes Van Gelder. He's got the DRS advantage. Van Gelder's going to get on the inside. Can he push him wide? He does. And now Sandro's in position to lose another spot, this time to his teammate, Dion Stahl. Oh no, and it looks like that was Vasilios and gone off. We just caught the back of it. His car went wide and into the wall. Where is it? Do you see the bits and pieces laying there? And Ethan Croft has retired from the session. You just caught a glimpse of it. Vasilios' car looks like it went head on into the wall around turn 3 area. And it looks like Sandro is going to lose his position to his teammate. And then some. Sam Van Alven has managed to work his way into what's about to become the 6th spot. Oh, look at this. Dion Stahl taking the hard line inside. Van Alven, though, he's got the more preferred line on the next way out. Look at this. 5 cars into one corner. Not going to work. And Sam Van Alven manages to come out in front of this gaggle of cars here to pick up the 6th spot. Here's Sandro now back in the 7th. You see Foons Van Hoot and Jorge Correa, their teammates, going back and forth. And now Dion Stahl gets the crappy end of the stick there as he's falling all the way back to 10th. Now he's got DRS. He's going to try and get a 2-for-1 deal heading down into turn 1. Oh, but he runs very wide late braking. He's not going to be able to hold the position. And he'll have to give it back up. Meanwhile, Van Alven is on the back of Sandro Dulius. Nothing's changed at the front as we continue to monitor that time. Francis McGinn has pulled out to a 3.5-second lead over his teammate, Jesper Lepinen. I'm sorry, that's not his teammate. That is the Williams of Jesper Lepinen. Lewis Marshall is 3rd. Mick Van Gelder is 4th. Cameron Weston Edwards is 5th. Now what you're watching here is 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. A 5-way battle that could really end up in anybody's lap as to how many positions they could pick up. And Ben Alven now is going to try and go around the outside, which will put him on the more preferred line in the next corner. Sandro locks up the fronts going into the corner just a little bit. Manages to get the power down and give himself at least a car length gap in between them. So in a matter of a lap and a half, we lost 3 cars. Vasilios went off at turn 3. Ethan Croft and Yerma Rusic all crashed DNF, and it looks like Cameron Weston Edwards has just jumped into the pits to make his first pit stop of the day. Meanwhile, we're going to pick up the battle for second because this is Lewis Marshall as he looks to make a move on Jesper Lempinen. Oh, and Lempinen's into the wall! What has happened there? I'm not sure if there was contact or not, but he's got some right or left front end plate damage on the front wing, and now Van Gelder's come into view. Van Gelder's probably going to pick up that spot by the time this lap is over, and that's going to move Lewis Marshall into second spot. Now, Jesper will probably make this very easy for Van Gelder. Jesper's definitely going to be making a pit stop at the end of this lap. Ooh, maybe he's not going to make it easy for him. Almost squeezed him into the wall. Van Gelder, he's not close enough to try and make the move. Oh, and you can see how early on the brakes. Oh, no, and Van Gelder's back end kicks out. Jesper's going to make the dive into the pit, so that's going to hand over third spot to Nick Van Gelder. Meanwhile, we're going to head back to this battle here. That is Sandro Dulius, it looks like, heading into the pits. Now, Jorge Correa managed to pick up the spot in this battle, so he's got lead point as he heads into fourth. Sam Van Elven is fifth now. Funs Van Houten is sixth. Dion Stahl is seventh. So we've got a four-way battle still for this mid-pack positions. Oh, and you see there just a little bit of a touch. Van Houten's going to try and go around the outside, which will set him up on the inside. Ooh, but he couldn't quite make it stick. He didn't have a good angle on corner. Now, Correa's managed to pull away from the rest of this battle here. You see him and Sam Van Elven have managed to give themselves a little bit of breathing space between the other two cars. And Sandro Dulius just picks up a 3-second time penalty for cutting some corners a little too tightly. Dion Stahl is starting to reel in, though, Sam Van Elven for the fifth spot. Oh, and a big lockup on the left front there from Sam. I will say this battle, we're 8 laps in. This battle's been going on since the very beginning of the race. And a lot of these drivers, I will say, especially the 4 or 5 that we've been watching here in the mid-pack, have all been driving really aggressively, but really cleanly at the same time. Oh, and you see the back end of the Ferrari kick out just a little bit there. So Sam Van Elven trying to fight for what would be his best career SRL finish. He just gives up the spot. His best finish came last year. He finished 6th, where he had a brilliant battle in the closing laps with Cameron Weston Edwards that went on for a very long time. It was Sam Van Elven's best race of his career so far. He's looking to try and improve on that today. He's not giving up that position too easy. He's got a very good run coming out of that corner. He's all over the back of Dion Stahl's Ferrari. Oh, and they both run very wide coming out of that corner. And you can see these two guys, they're both on Hypersofts. So these tires are pretty much starting to give up and go away at this point. In fact, the first 7 cars have not pitted, which has really capitalized on this has been Jan Holm, who's managed to work his way into the 7th spot. And I think the more impressive thing there for Jan Holm is that he's worked his way into 7th through the pit strategy so far, but he's managed to gap his teammate by almost a second. Cameron Weston Edwards just came in a couple of laps ago to put on the softs, but he hasn't been able to maximize on that and get past his teammate, Jan Holm. Holm's best finish so far this year has been 10th, where he picked up a championship point. And me and Sam Brandt actually talked about him a little bit last round, the gentleman driver that he is. Continued on Cameron Weston Edwards. Now, Edwards has Jesper Lempinen on the back of him. So this will be an interesting three-car battle because Holm hasn't pitted. Both of these guys are on fresher tires. But you see Edwards is making the move on his teammate now. Manages to get around him. And that took probably one lap too long, or I should say 1 lap longer than Edwards would have liked. A big gap between Sam Van Elven in 5th and Nick Van Gelder in 6th. So we watch Jesper. He's now going to take the easy drive past Jan Holm. Looks like Holm's tires are starting to give up. He went very wide there. So lap 9, some of the pit stops have started. Looks like Francis McGinn is your leader here. He is going to go one more time around on these hypers. 4.5 seconds behind him is Lewis Marshall. He's yet to pit as well. If they're both on the same strategy, it's not going to benefit Marshall to try and stay that way. He's got to pit earlier or try and go later than McGinn if he wants to try and pick up that position. Still fighting a sore throat. Jorge Correa, through his pit strategy, is managed to get up to 3rd spot. Correa picked up a podium last year through pit strategy. I believe that was in IRL. Actually, he picked up a podium, not an SRL. They picked up a podium last year. Picked up 3rd spot in an IRL race through pit strategy. It was his first podium in more than a year, like 456 days or something ridiculous like that. And right now, it's doing the same. Dion Stoltz managed to work his way into 4th. Sam Van Elven having a great race in 5th. Van Gelder's dropped back to 6th through some of this. Jesper Lempinen 7th. Cameron Weston Edwards 8th. It looks like Jesper managed to get around him. Jan Holm 9th. He's yet to pit. Foons Van Houten has yet to pit. And it looks like Jesper has just picked up a 3-second time penalty. Cutting corners. And to answer Wart WB's question, no, sir, I don't know if Cameron has picked up any penalties so far this race. I know he didn't have a penalty coming into the race. He wasn't on a qualifying penalty or qualifying ban or anything like that. He may have picked up some time penalties so far, so try and manage and keep track of everything that's going on. So Lewis Marshall and Francis McGinn both pit. Jorge Correa takes over the lead. He's yet to pit as he starts lap 11 on these hypersofts. How long will they go? Oh, and that sucks for Lewis Marshall. Lewis Marshall comes out, but he and Francis McGinn have been split by Nick Van Gelder, who managed to make a pit stop earlier and come out on the hypersofts. So Van Gelder tries to do the undercut to try and pick up the spot over McGinn, but he doesn't. He manages to pick up the spot over Lewis Marshall, though. And now you've got Jan Holm, who's now dropped, unfortunately, to 10th spot, and Jorge Correa. They are two of the drivers that have yet to pit. Actually, they're the only two drivers that have yet to pit. So the question becomes, how long does Jorge Correa stay out as he goes by the start-finish line one more time? Now he is losing time to Francis McGinn. And Jan Holm looks like he's got some major front wing damage. In fact, he doesn't have a front wing, so he'll definitely be coming into the pits this time around. Not sure what has happened to him, unfortunately. I saw that he had dropped through the ranks a little bit. So Holm into the pits. Sandro Dulius will pick him up as he's racing alongside his teammate of the long time, Dion Stahl. This is for the 7th position. This is your closest battle on track right now between teammates. So let's remember the golden rule when it comes to racing. Don't take out your teammate as you see the back end of Julius's car kick out trying to come out of that corner. And we've got Curl1 Bert _YT. Not sure who that is, but he says hello, and hello to you too. We continue to watch this battle unfold between teammates. This is your closest battle on track right now. We're also monitoring the time between Lewis Marshall and Nick Van Gelder. And this gap is growing. Sandro not able to find the space or the time on the track to get by him. However, these two drivers have managed to start catching up to Cameron Weston Edwards. You see Cameron Weston Edwards in the foreground there, or the background going forward down to the back stretch. Here's Edwards, and there you see Dion Stahl just creeping into the picture. This time is down to less than a second. So running on softs is not working out for Cameron the way that he thought it would. He's probably going to try and run the softs all the way to the end, while these guys are going to be looking to make maybe another pit stop. You see Dion is in DRS range of Cameron Weston Edwards now, so this is about to be a three-way car battle for the 6th spot. And it looks like Cameron is actually struggling. He gives way. Tries to fight back a little bit on the inside, but both the Ferraris are much quicker through the S's. Now, Edwards has got the more preferred line. He's going to try and shut the door, cuts across the nose of Dion Stahl's Ferrari. But now both Ferraris are going to be in DRS range. Uh-oh, and Lewis Marshall's retired from the session. Your championship points leader is off. What has happened to Marshall? And Dion Stahl makes the move on Cameron Weston Edwards. And now Edwards is in the middle of a Ferrari sandwich. Edwards trying to come back, and he's going to have the more preferred line, trying to head down on the side of the end of the front straightaway there, or the end of turn 3, I should say. In an unbelievable turn of events, Lewis Marshall, your championship points leader, is done for the race. That'll be the 4th car that's dropped out, and now we see Dulius working on the backside of his longtime friend and rival, Cameron Weston Edwards. So if Nick Van Gelder can manage to finish on the podium, that would hand the points lead over to him at the end of this race. Oh, and Dulius' car, the back end, again, getting a little squirrely there as he tries to put the power down early. And Dulius was not close enough to make a move at the end of the front stretch there. So, unbelievable turn of events for Lewis Marshall. We'll try and get him here in the booth and hear what he has to say. We've got, oh no, and Jan Holmes is retired from the session. What has happened to him? We can't pick up his car either. So Jan Holm, who was having a pretty solid race, he had just made a pit stop not that long ago. Oh, and you see one of the Toro Rossos is around there. Whose car is that? Oh, that is Colin Higgins, and I wonder if he was a part of the reason why Jan Holm did not finish. So Higgins' car is backwards. He needs to get that spun around. And he manages to get it straight and going again. You see the wing damage on the left front. And we pick up the battle for what is continuing to still be the 6th spot. Dion Stahl managed to get around Cameron Weston Edwards a couple of laps ago, and he's managed to pull out 2.5 seconds in front of this battle for 6th. We are now going to pick up the battle for 2nd. You see Francis McGinn has caught Jorge Correa as we were watching the other battles unfold. Very easy for Francis McGinn to get around Jorge Correa. Correa is still not pitted on those hypersofts. And you see Nick Van Gelder now has managed to get around him. So Correa started the tires, or started on hypersofts, and he's the only driver left that is yet to pit. And 16 laps at this track on hypersofts, those tires have to have no grip left. So easy overtake for Francis McGinn for the lead, and easy overtake for Nick Van Gelder to take the 2nd spot. Next on the hit list would be Jesper Lempinen. He'll be catching Jorge Correa. Correa picks up a 3-second time penalty. Let's see if Correa pits this time by. And he is staying out one more time. He's got going to be 16 laps on these hypersofts. That is an incredibly long run. Sorry, it looks like he might be on ultra softs. Either way, that's a very long stint on ultra soft tires. You can see the laps of some of these other cars. Renee Vanderstap's got 15 laps on softs, as well does Sam Brandt. Ivan Brito, who's running 10th, has 14 laps on the ultras. And I don't think the strategy is going to work out. When we pick up this battle, it looks like Sandro Dulius has finally gotten around Cameron Weston Edwards for the 6th spot. In fact, Voons Van Houten, now we've got a battle for what is going to be the 11th spot. That's Van Houten on Sam Brandt. It doesn't look like Sam's done with Voons Van Houten. So we started with 19 cars. We've now lost 5. 14 cars remaining. And Lewis Marshall chiming in on the live chat said the crash was his fault. He outbroke himself, and he managed to hit Nick and crash his car. Now Jorge Correa has finally made his pit stop. See where he comes out, because that's going to move Dion Stahl into 4th, Sandro Dulius into 5th, and Cameron Weston Edwards has not given up on the battle. Renee Vanderstapt going to be 7th, so that's going to, Jorge Correa is going to come out in 8th spot as we continue to watch these two fight each other. Oh, and he's down on the inside. A hard move there at the end. Tries to outbrake Sandro. He's got the more preferred line coming down to the next set of corners. Oh, and they're side by side. Cameron's going to try and push him a little bit wide. Side by side through this set of corners. Oh, no, and Sandro lost the back end of the car, tried to get the power down. And it looks like the right front of his wing just clipped the tire of Cameron's car. It's going to give him a little bit of wing damage. And Sandro just falls outside. Almost. He was almost outside of the DRS range. And if you look back there, Sam Van Elven creeping into the picture on these two. Dion Stahl picks up a 3-second time penalty. Time penalties have been a huge factor this year in some of these results. And that goes between SRL and IRL. We've seen a lot of guys give up a lot of positions. The biggest one to note was in IRL when your championship points leader there, Felix Neguar, finished second in Mexico, but because of 18 seconds worth of time penalties, it dropped him to 5th on the grid. So Sandro trying to keep pace with Cameron Weston Edwards. These two have gone back and forth for most of the race here, the second part of this race. Sam Van Elven's creeping into the picture. We've got a three-way battle back here, though, for the 10th spot. You just see Ivan Brito now with Sam Brandt and Foons Van Houten, but this is, look at this. Brito's going to be heading to the pits, and a fight was for nothing. And Sam Brandt picks up a 3-second time penalty. Nothing's changed at the front. Francis McGinn is still your leader. He's out front by 7.5 seconds. That's to Nick Van Gelder. Van Gelder is starting to close the gap a little bit, but not enough to make any type of significant progress. Sam Brandt and Foons Van Houten still going back and forth for the last championship points paying position. Oh, and they bang wheels really hard there. I don't think that was on purpose. It looked like the back end started to give way on Sam's car. He gives way and gives Van Houten the spot. Meanwhile, you've got not Sam Van Elven, I'm sorry, this is Rene van der Staap closing into this gap of Sandro Julius, and it's now very close, now within a second. So Sandro's going to have DRS on Edwards, and Van der Staap's going to have DRS on Julius. You see Sandro's going to try and make the move. He thought about it, cuts back in line. About to have a three-way battle here for the 5th spot. Meanwhile, the gap at the front still maintaining at 7.5 seconds. And there it is. Van der Staap has officially caught Sandro Julius. This is for 6th, and it looks like Cameron Weston Edwards is starting to gap himself from the rest of these two drivers here. They're still within DRS range of each other. The 3-second penalty for Colin Higgins. Higgins, who we last saw, was backwards on the backstretch. His day is all but done as he is almost a lap down and in 14th. But hey, you never know what happens at the end of these closing laps. Here goes Sandro. Oh, and look at this. Edwards runs him all the way down to the wall. Unbelievable. And Edwards loses 2 spots. Oh, look at this. Van der Staap He's going to try and pick up 2 spots, and now it's 3 wide as they head down into the corner. 3 into 1's not going to work. Who's going to give way? Nobody does. They all bang wheels. And Edwards again going to try and cut to the inside, do a crossover. Vanderstappen manages to gap Dulius out of that corner just a little bit. And now Edwards is coming back on Dulius, and basically these two are still fighting for a spot. Vanderstappen's starting to pull away. Edwards is going to go late into the braking zone. Oh no, look at this. Not what I wanted. There we go. Oh, and Edwards gives up a spot. He tried to go into the inside of Vanderstappen. They banged wheels. And gives up 2 positions. So Sandro's still stuck in the middle. And actually, while this is going on, Jorge Correa has crept into the picture. DRS slots open for these two, and here you see it looks like Colin Higgins coming out of the pits. He better stay out of the way. Look at this, all over the back of the Ferrari. Here comes the Sauber of Edwards, down to the inside. He's got the line on him, pushes him wide. He's going to have the line going into the next corner as well. Oh, Sandro doesn't want to give it up, pushes him wide. And now finally Edwards picks up the position back from Sandro Dulius. Meanwhile, Vanderstappen's starting to pull away. And here comes the Mercedes of Jorge Correa. There goes Vanderstappen, there goes Edwards, and now Correa looking to make a move on Sandro. So we've still got a 3-car battle. Edwards and Dulius still in the midst of it. Correa trying to find a way around. Looks like Correa is on the Hypersofts now. And he's going to make the move on Sandro. Nice move. So Sandro drops another spot. Correa picks up 7th, and now Correa is going to start trying to reel in Cameron Weston Edwards. Vanderstappen's managed to pull away from the chaos for now. And Sandro picks up another 3-second time penalty. Oh, and look at this move by Correa. Edwards tries to take the more defensive line. Correa's going to try and go around the outside. Oh, look at that. He makes it stick. Power move by Correa. And the tires hold as he goes around the outside of Cameron Weston Edwards to pick up the 6th spot. And Wart wants to know who pitted early. Was it Nick or Francis? And if I had to take a guess, I'd say they both pitted at the same time. Looks like Francis pitted 1 lap earlier than Nick Van Gelder. Van Gelder tried to stay out and get the undercut, but it couldn't work. Uh-oh. And look at this Ivan Brito DNF. Where's his car? See if Airford Daniel passes it by anywhere. So another DNF. Ivan Brito is having a pretty solid run, running in 12th. And unfortunately, nothing has changed at the front. The gap has remained solid at 7.5 seconds. Francis again not able to pull away any further from Nick Van Gelder, and Van Gelder not able to close the gap. Your biggest battles have been in the middle of the pack today. So we pick up Francis McGinn. 7.5 seconds out front, all by his lonesome. Nick Van Gelder also running all by his lonesome in second. Jesper Lempinen, very solid run today. Third for him so far. Dion Stahl just starting to creep into the picture. Don't think he'll have enough time to catch Jesper for the third spot, but a solid run so far for Dion Stahl. Rene Vanderstappen was a part of that three-car battle that we watched a couple laps ago as it's unfolding. He's currently in fifth. Jorge Correa is closing the gap to him ever so slightly. Cameron Weston Edwards holding on to seventh spot. Finally manages to gap himself from Sandro Doyas in eighth. Sam Van Elven was a part of the three-way battle earlier, but he's very quietly fallen back into ninth. And Foons Van Houten manages to get around Sam Brandt and gap him for the last championship points paying spot. And we are going to pick up Jorge Correa a couple of laps to go. He's almost within a second, so he's almost in DRS range of Rene Vanderstappen. Oh no, we just lost Colin Higgins, who, though wasn't having a great race, was still running. He is done for the day. And now Correa is there. He is caught the back of Rene Vanderstappen's factory Renault. Lewis Marshall officially leaves the session, though he had a DNF many laps ago. It looks like he had crashed into the back of Nick Van Gelder, according to him in the chat. And Van Gelder has lost some time. He's actually lost 3 seconds to Francis McGinn. So McGinn is now 10.5 seconds. As we watch this battle unfold for the 6th spot, I don't think Vanderstappen's going to have anything for Correa. Correa had a very long first stint. Pitted on lap 18 to throw on the Hypers. I thought he was on Hypers earlier. Turns out he was on Ultras. So Jorge Correa will pick up the 5th spot. The question is there enough time for him to catch 4th? Because he's only 1.5 seconds off of Dion Stahl. No, he's not. I'm reading that wrong. Dion Stahl is only 1.5 seconds off of Jesper. Correa is 17 seconds behind. So we are going to pick up Dion Stahl. This was 2.5 seconds a couple of laps ago. So 2 laps to go. Dion Stahl looking to possibly get on the podium for the first time in a long time. And that would be a great race for him. Solid run. Very quietly worked his way through the pack. And I gotta say, for the first time in a long time, if ever, Dion Stahl's the better Ferrari driver. Sandro really needs to up his game. And that's not a knock against any of those drivers. It's just Dion has really outperformed Sandro this year, and that's the first time we've really seen that in SRL. These guys have been teammates for every year in SRL since the beginning. Sandro's always been the A driver. Dion's always been the support driver. But so far this year, Dion's proven to be the A driver. Oh, and as soon as I say that, he tries to get the power down and the back end kicks out. Whatever time he had made up on Jesper, he just gave away. Last lap, and he's now 2 seconds off the back of Jesper Lempinen. So Francis McGinn has already started this last circuit around. Francis McGinn, another dominating performance. Now McGinn picked up his 2nd pole of the year this time around. He's led pretty much from the beginning. That's going to give him 50 solid points only after 3 rounds, and only 2 of which he's... well, no, I'm off. Francis McGinn did not win the last race. He hit the pole last time out, finished 5th. So this would move him into the top 3 in points. Lewis Marshall will still be in the top 3, but it looks like Nick Van Gelder is going to be your points leader after the end of this race, as he's managed to finish on the podium 3 consecutive races now in a row to kick off this 2018 season. And Jan Holm has left the session. So Francis McGinn comes around to pick up his first win of the year. Good for him. Nick Van Gelder comes across in the second spot. Power slides his way across the line. Jesper Lempinen followed shortly behind Dion Stahl. Jorge Correa will come across to finish 5th. Rene van der Stepp looks like one of the Toro Rossos is, right in the way. That was Irfan Daniel, who was in the middle of the track. Looks like Sam Brandt came along and hit him. Jorge Correa. Koens Van Houten will come across to finish in 10th, pick up a championship point. And there you have it, round 3 Sochi. Another very entertaining race to kick off this F1 2018 season on the PS4 platform. There's Francis McGinn, Nick Van Gelder, Jesper Lempinen. Good solid drives by all 3 of those drivers. So your official finishing order after all the time penalties have been assessed. Francis McGinn, your winner. Nick Van Gelder, Jesper Lempinen, Dion Stahl, Jorge Carrera manages to get 5th. Cameron Weston Edwards 6th. Rene van der Stepp 7th. Sam Van Elven is 8th. Sandro Dulius drops all the way to 9th because of time penalties. And rounding out your top 10 for points is Koens Van Houten, followed by Sam Brandt, Irfan Daniel, Ivan Brito, Colin Higgins, Jan Holm, Lewis Marshall, Vasilios Pelasiotis, Ethan Croft, and Jor Marusic. So unbelievable day in racing. So, awesome day of racing. I want to thank everybody for being here today. Now, if you want to check out more racing action this weekend, you can check out the IRL channel tomorrow. That's International Racing League. They'll be racing tomorrow, 11:15 Eastern Standard Time. I'll be commentating that race as well. You can definitely check them out. They are at Paul Ricard tomorrow for the French Grand Prix. Next week, you should be able to check out round 4 of SRL at Bahrain. I won't be commentating, but I do believe Sandre will be commentating that race, but definitely check it out on the SRL channel. So, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment to the SRL channel. Check out IRL. You can also check out SRL on the web and International Racing on the web. So check out SRL next week at Bahrain. Check out IRL tomorrow at Paul Ricard. Been another unbelievable race, and we'll see you guys at the next round.